Hi, welcome back to the Real Estate Muses workshop. We're through the introduction, and in our first lesson or article, we talk about arrogance. And I'm not talking about a personal arrogance, but an arrogance that comes from working with an inspired state of mind. And when you're working within the boundaries of what we do here at the workshop, you are truly trusting yourself to find the thing that's going to work for you, that's going to make you a lot of money and make your lifestyle possible within the career of real estate. And there will be a lot of people who try to cause you to doubt yourself. So when I say arrogance, what I really mean is confidence. But we're going to use the word arrogance because what happens as you go along is a kind of swagger. And it's okay if we call that arrogance, because it feels really good to be able to create a world that's all your own. And that's what we're going to do here. And if you're at the workshop, you're probably here because there's something that's not working for you. If you've been in the business for a long time, I would guess that you are having mediocre results and putting forth extraordinary effort. Most of the real estate agents I know are pretty special people. They're really driven, motivated individuals, and they will try anything to make it work. Their egos are as involved as their pocketbooks, and I don't know a real estate agent anywhere who's okay with just doing all right. So what the workshop is designed to do is to help those people get out of the scattered territory of trying to be all things to all people, and to help new agents never get started down that path. And it's kind of ironic because when I take my son to school every day, there's an SUV that is usually in front of me. She makes it there earlier than I do, but it says Casey Sells on her license plate, and I thought, oh, look, a real estate agent. And then there's a side magnet on the side of her car that says residential, commercial, we can help. Basically the message is we do it all, call us. And I sit in line at school waiting to pick up my son, and I think I'm so grateful that I don't try to do it all. Don't call me if you want to buy a home. Don't call me if you want to go look at houses this Saturday. Don't call me if you want all the basic services that can be found on the MLS, because that's not what I do. I have a very specialized area of real estate, and I don't want to be all things to all people. And I don't want you to be all things to all people, because that's what leads to burnout. It's what leads to you having to compete with every other agent in your market. And it's the reason that so many people have a mediocre career in spite of really phenomenal effort to be one of the best and be a top producer. And yet you see them failing or struggling. And what we're hoping to do is develop agents who find a way to take the effort like that with no result out of the equation and learn to really, really hone in on only something they love. So how do you do that? That's the tricky part. No one tells you that, and I've never heard a seminar given on truly finding your calling within what we do. And what happened with me, I started in real estate simply because I owned 2 properties of my own. And I was very successfully leasing them out as furnished, all utilities included units for almost double what the mortgage payments were. And that was a personal investment. And I personally talked to each person who rented from me. Many of them were short-term students coming in for a summer session, or medical people coming in for a 6-month stay at one of the hospitals. And what happened as time went on is I really mastered the marketing of that. And so my goal was simply to own more properties of my own. And in order to do that, I wasn't really sure what my strategy was going to be. I was in the middle of a move to New Orleans, and I was job hunting. Found out that I'm worth about $40,000 in the marketplace tops. I haven't finished college. I worked for my husband for the last 20 years before he passed away, and we were in outdoor recreation. We owned 2 campgrounds. So basically, I ran the offices and I did a lot of the marketing work. And so my qualifications were simply that I knew how to market, and I knew a lot about running campgrounds. There were not a lot of jobs available in New Orleans for either one, except maybe office management. And from what I could see, my only option was going to be sales. If I were going to make a lot of money and take that ceiling away, I was going to have to be on commission and create my own income. So I was struggling with that. I was checking monster.com and I was interviewing with different companies, a portable office sales company and some different things. And in the middle of all that, while renting out my own 2 properties, I met some neighbors who thought they might like to do the same thing. And I said, well, I can show you how. There's nothing to it. I've really learned how to do it. And they said, well, no, we don't want to do it. Could you just do it for us? And so I did, as a favor. Again, I wasn't thinking of it as a business except for the income I was deriving from my own properties, but I wasn't thinking to charge people to do that. So 3 neighbors had me marketing their properties and eventually did insist that I come up with some kind of fee structure, so I did that. And word of mouth spread, and I had about 5 other people that I was doing this for. And throughout that process, a couple of them asked me, well, if I decide I want to sell my condo, can you do that for me? Are you a real estate agent? And I started adding up the commissions that I might have earned as a real estate agent on those properties. And I thought, well, that kind of makes sense. I'm already doing that in a way. I'm a little bit familiar with this process. So I did come up with a fee structure and I began to explore going to real estate school. The crazy thing is, once I got through real estate school and began to find a brokerage and try to figure out how it all worked, that's how stupid I was. I didn't even know that you had to have a broker. So I began by trying to find the right broker. I ended up at one of the largest brokerages in the suburbs of New Orleans. We had 80 agents there. And come to find out, I had picked a brokerage that caters to very experienced agents. So there was no training program, there was no mentoring program, there was nothing like that. You just jump in and start selling real estate, and the only thing that had attracted me to that situation was the very generous commission split. I think it was a 20% to the broker split, and you paid a low monthly fee of like $250 a month to join the brokerage. So when I got there, I was just at a loss. I didn't know how to begin. I didn't know where to start, what to do. And I am a resourceful person, so I started attending some of the meetings that they would have and sales training things. And I just began to pick the brains of the more experienced agents. And they were quite helpful. I can't ever say that anyone turned me down to sit with me and teach me how to do a comp or any of those things. So I kind of got my training on the street. The problem with it is that everyone who embraces a new agent wants to help a new agent has only one suggestion. They teach you how to work with buyers. And it's an extremely expensive process to get in front of buyers. You're competing against every agent in the metro area to get those buyers to work with. And unfortunately, when you begin to work with buyers, it's such a game of roulette because you're working with them for months and months and months. You have no guarantee that they are going to be able to buy something or that they will buy something. And even after all those months of working with them, they could see a for sale by owner sign in someone's yard and call them, buy that property, and you're out of the picture. They have no obligation to you whatsoever. And that's not to say that there are not a lot of great buyers who do understand that real estate agents work on commission. So it's not a bad situation, but it is the least effective way to make money without spending 12 hours a day and thousands of dollars in advertising. But I didn't know that. So I spent most of my time in that first year trying to figure out, how do I get them? How do I find them? How do I connect with buyers? And I struggled with that for so long, and I honestly was not able to make any commissions in that first year just because of the learning curve with the marketing. So about 9 months into it, I was really frustrated. I was beginning to wonder if this was really the right career choice. And I went back and I just took a day off. It wasn't doing me any good anyway. I just unplugged from the whole world. I turned my phone off and I went downtown New Orleans to Jackson Square. And I sat in the grass in front of the cathedral in my favorite spot where I've always gone when I come to the city, and I just listened to this brass band for a while. And I thought, this is why I moved back here. This is why I'm here, is to be in the heart of this city. And I'm not doing that. I'm in the suburbs. I'm showing little places in Metairie, and I'm tract homes and suburban neighborhoods, and I never get to be downtown anymore. And my love was for those old buildings in the French Quarter. My 2 condos were in the warehouse district in a converted warehouse, and I had, over that last year, kind of lost touch with the people that I'd been helping do rentals for. 2 of them had sold, and 1 had moved back into her place. But the more I thought about it, I really couldn't understand how I had gotten so far off track. I had become a real estate agent because I wanted to sell those condos downtown in the heart of it all, and it felt like it was going to be the right thing for me. And then I just strayed off course. I got involved in all the things that everyone else does because I was too new. I didn't know any better. So I did what everyone taught me to do. But that day, sitting there in the square, was the day for me that I had the aha moment. And I decided that one of 2 things: either I was not going to do real estate. If I was going to be bored out of my mind and have to deal with these properties that I had no love for, no excitement about, I might as well go get a job and work for someone else. And I'm sure I could make $6,000 a year anywhere. That's what I had made that year. So that's where it started. I went back to the heart of what I wanted to do, and I gathered a mailing together, and I mailed some people in a few buildings that I really love downtown. And I said, here's what I do with my 2 condos. I would like to help you do it with yours if you live out of state, or if this is your vacation home. I think I can help you make more money than you are. And within the end of that month, I had 3 clients who had agreed to pay me 15% per month on any lease that I got for them. So what we do here is we have a pretty lucrative leasing program because of the city we live in. And our rents were on an average of $2,500 a month. And I came up with a fee structure at 15% per month during any lease. So right off the bat, with just those 3 clients, that was $1,000 a month that I knew would come in no matter what else I did. And I thought, well, all we need to do here is run the numbers. If 3 is $1,000 a month, well, then 6 would be $2,000 a month, and so on. And I decided that what I really needed was about 12 properties to enable me to make a bit of a living. I'd have $3,600 a month coming in, and I could grow that from there. And it would also give me a little more freedom to focus on gaining seller listings, because I knew that's where the real money was. But the key to it is that I stopped and I gave myself a quiet moment to go back in time to that very first inkling that I had that I wanted to get into real estate. And I had come so far away from that moment and that point that it was a wake-up call. And I think all of us do that. I think we get caught in the cogs once we actually become licensed and we actually begin a career in real estate. I think we lose sight of what attracted us to the business to start with. So what I suggest for you, and what I really think is important, is that you just stop right here and right now and ask yourself how much of each day you're actually spending doing things that you love to do. Okay, because when I wake up in the morning, I know that I'm going into the heart of downtown New Orleans. And I'm going to work there for a couple hours, meeting people who our other business owners who own condos in my building and others around town. The people who lease from us are really interesting people because they're coming in from out of town to do something here for work. So I love my job. I actually love to get up and go to work every day because I'm doing what I envisioned doing in the very beginning that I never got to do. So what I'd like to see you do is take our worksheet and take yourself back in time to the very first moment when you thought, that's what I should do. I should do real estate. Why was that? Really sit down, go back to that moment, and it may be several things that led you to it. But did you have a friend who was in real estate and maybe you went to an open house just to show up and give her some support, and you saw people coming and going and talking, having a good time. You saw her showing them around that property, and maybe you loved the neighborhood and you thought this would be such an interesting thing to do every day for work. And then you began to hear the stories. Well, she made $6,000 on that commission, or she, another very large property, the commission was $20,000. So there was a moment, or maybe you are in construction. And maybe in building some of the buildings, you watch the real estate agents come and go, and they seem to have the life because they weren't getting dirty. They were all dressed up and driving nice cars, and they were showing people through the properties and slapping on the back and going to lunch after. And maybe that's what you thought that you would be doing when you started a career in real estate. So many things lead us here. Maybe it was a love of the history of a building that made you think it would be so fun to show people the architecture and the history. Maybe you have interest in interior design and you've seen shows about staging or $1 million listings, and those things interested you. And all of us, before we got in the business, definitely heard about those multi-million-dollar real estate agents who made a ton of money doing what we do. So that is where I want you to be. I want you to be in that place where you were before you started this as a business and found out that there's a lot more to it than you knew. And I want you to go back to that place and think about those initial instincts that made you kind of light up and think, that would be easy, that would be a lot of fun, it wouldn't even be like a job. Because what I really want you to understand is that you were right. You were absolutely right. When you decided to get into this business, you chose a career that gives you so much freedom, so much flexibility, so many choices about what you're going to do and how you're going to do it. And I think in order to create the little world that you need to create, first of all, we've got to get you out of the arena of doing what everyone else does. You've got to be special and you've got to be different. You've got to become an expert in some area. So the first thing we need to do is eliminate the idea that you're going to follow the pattern and the training and the things that everyone else in our business does, because you don't want to be part of the 90% of this circle. You want this much of it. You want to be in a 2% niche. No more than 2 to 5%. There will be other people who do what you do, but chances are they also do other things. And you don't want to do anything but what you do. So that's what we want to help you find. We want to go through some exercises and help you find the thing that made you want to do real estate. And we want to turn that into a unique business that becomes the basis of everything you do in real estate. So let's do this. Begin by unplugging for the day. If you can't do it today, set aside time tomorrow and give yourself at least an hour. There's a worksheet on the website, and you want to download that worksheet and you want to go somewhere that energizes you and inspires you. You may or may not be here in New Orleans. If you are, I would suggest getting in the middle of whatever neighborhood you absolutely want to sell property in. If you want to be uptown, go find a cafe on the street somewhere. If you want to be in the French Quarter, same thing. Maybe go sit on the river. if you're out of New Orleans and you're somewhere else, then go back in your head to that perfect property and that thing in your head that you were going to sell, that beautiful place that you couldn't wait to be in control of. And you need to go there. You need to go back and remind yourself of what was in your head when you first decided to get your real estate license. And I want you to just go there and sit and write from that place that you were in the very beginning. I want you to sit and write about what your dreams were as a new real estate agent. Where did you want to work? And nothing is out of your reach. Absolutely nothing. I am not from New Orleans, and within 2.5 years, I'm working with some of our most famous citizens in the city. I'm working on some of the most beautiful properties. And all that is possible simply because I found a niche I really love, and I became an expert. And when those people want the best person to do that particular job, they don't have a lot of options. I'm one of their top options. And you can create that for yourself too. So let's start there. Let's do the worksheet. Really take yourself back in time. Turn off your phone. Don't let anyone interrupt you. And we'll get back to the next lesson tomorrow and talk about how you take that thing that drove you in the very beginning and how do we turn that into a business. Thanks. I will see you tomorrow, and best of luck. Please concentrate on this exercise. It's the most important thing you can do to get started.